Most people think weight loss is about willpower, but what if I told you that you could literally reprogram your brain to make weight loss feel effortless? That's exactly what I did, and I used 4 brainwashing techniques to do it. Yes, the real ones cult leaders use to convert people, not in months and years, but in days and weeks. But don't worry, we'll dial it down from cult level spicy to medium spicy. I'm not that hardcore. The first technique tackles the number one problem we all have when losing weight. We all start new weight loss attempts feeling really solid about our plan. Like when I came up with the idea to do protein baking so I could have my cake and eat it too. Literally. This went great for weeks. Until one day, there I was, standing in the kitchen, staring down the leftover ice cream from last night's party. A voice whispered, "Just this once." Then another voice shot back, "Remember, you're trying to lose weight. Skip this." But then the first voice countered, "You're being too hard on yourself. You've been good all week. One scoop won't hurt." And before I knew it, I was back to my old habits. Why does our mind put up such massive resistance? Because inside you, there are 2 wolves. Stick with me. One wolf, the experienced, stronger wolf, is your existing identity. It's fed on years of evidence that the best feeling at the end of stressful days is some delicious ice cream and TV. The other wolf is the new identity you're trying to build, a scrawny underdog who is trying to prove it's worth feeding. Your goal? You want the scrawny wolf to defeat the strong wolf, but the old wolf doesn't want to die. It fights back harder and harder every time it feels threatened. So are you doomed to slow inch by inch progress? Well, there are 2 ways to win a fight. 1, become stronger than your opponent. 2, sabotage your opponent before the fight starts. Okay, but how do you sabotage your old identity? It's so strong. This is where brainwashing comes in. You must have heard of people who underwent sudden conversions or brainwashing. Like how in the Korean War, many captured American soldiers switched from believing in liberal democracy to the polar opposite beliefs of the communist ideology. The change in their identity in not months or years, but within days is remarkable. How do we do this to ourselves? But for goals we set, of course. Ivan Pavlov, a Russian psychologist's experiments show us how. He found that under extreme stress, the behaviors he had conditioned in dogs broke down completely. This created a blank slate, allowing him to condition new habits much faster. And intriguingly, these new behaviors were even harder to change. So what's the medium spicy version of a hysterical breakdown? This scientific study tells us what it is. Researchers tied a rat's tail to a spring and placed a piece of cheese in front of it. As the rat ran toward the cheese, its goal, its strength was measured at 1 unit. This is like when we book a beach vacation and start a weight loss plan to look amazing. But then the researchers added cat urine behind the rat, and of course the rat bolted. You can imagine the rat experiencing the same type of hysteria Pavlov's dogs did. And in this state, its strength was 4 to 5 times greater than when it was only running toward the cheese. Fear was a far stronger motivator than desire. Translating this into a more humane mechanism for us means creating an anti-vision so strong that every time you read it, you think, I'm more scared to not do anything. Creating an anti-vision takes 3 simple steps. Step 1, make a table with these 4 areas of life: health, social, leisure, and work. Step 2, for each area, write down your worst nightmare. For example, in leisure, I love traveling, and so not being able to explore a city like Lisbon, whose amazing spots are mostly accessible by foot, would leave me feeling frustrated, which then would bleed into my relationships, where being unable to share those experiences with friends and family who are able to explore and travel would leave me feeling like I'm standing out of frame, watching others live life. Step 3, add how continuing to be overweight worsens your nightmares. After all, our bodies are the vehicles through which we live life. Weight impacts everything: confidence, energy, mental focus, and more. If you'd like step-by-step guidance on creating your anti-vision, check out my motivation challenge in the comments and description below. But this anti-vision is only half the story. The rat ran 4 times harder when motivated by fear, but it only covered half the distance. Fear alone isn't enough. You've probably felt this too, panicking over a scary number on the scale, starting a diet, and fizzling out a few weeks later. But here's the crazy thing. When researchers added cheese in front of the rat with the cat urine behind it, its strength increased 18 to 20 times. And it ran twice the distance compared to when it just had the cheese. This is why brainwashers work so hard to make you love the vision of their ideology. If your anti-vision is the yang, having a vision to strive toward is the yin. The pairing of these two tips the balance toward a different kind of discipline. The I do it while I love it kind versus the I do it while I hate it grind. But what does this feel like in practice? Here's Sarah, a client of mine, explaining it. I think about my vision and it fills my chest with a positive glow when I start to have fears and doubts about my ability to make it. I have sweets, my supposed weakness, in my house that have expired, and I think a pint of ice cream has freezer burn. And here's even better news. Writing your vision takes just one more step. Take your worst nightmares from the anti-vision table and invert them. For example, my leisure nightmare flips into a vision where I can thru-hike Spain, bike across Vietnam, or try wing foil surfing, all without worrying about the toll on my body. But just writing these is not enough. How many of these stories sound familiar to you? Jumping from one weight loss plan to another because someone online made it sound better, spending hours collecting recipes and workout videos instead of actually cooking or exercising, snacking mindlessly in front of Netflix after a long day, convincing myself it's stress relief. Do you see the pattern here? My brain was constantly bombarded by outside voices. Social media, TV. I wasn't really alone with my thoughts. I wasn't dealing with how I used food as a coping mechanism. I was drowning it out with noise. This is precisely why in brainwashing, the targeted person is isolated from their daily influences, because it's very difficult to change when every person, location, and situation triggers you to revert to your old identity. So what's the medium spicy version of disappearing into the woods? Two simple things. One, when I used to watch videos while eating, I barely tasted my meals, and yet I kept eating more because my brain wasn't registering the satisfaction. Now, I don't eat in front of a screen. To make this easier, I set a timer for 20 minutes and listen to relaxing music or a podcast instead. Moderate portions of food started satisfying me. Two, think about how much time you spend scrolling through videos or posts that don't actually change your behavior. Content that just makes you feel worse or more confused. I call this junk information, and it's like the empty calories of media. I started cutting my time on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts to 30 minutes a day max. I cut news out entirely. The result? I let my client Roberta describe it. As I've shrunk this circle of outside voices, I've noticed the itch for recognition and validation has gone down, and simple objective awareness about myself has gone up. More awareness about myself equals more self-confidence in my knowledge and abilities equals no need for validation from anyone. But what if the loudest voice left, your own, is the harshest one? It whispers, why haven't you lost weight yet? It's been weeks. You're craving this now because your body needs it. And the classic, you've been good all week. Don't you deserve a treat? This is the voice of the old, strong wolf. Remember, it's fed on years of these whispers. It drowns the pipsqueak voice of the new wolf. Which is why in brainwashing, the targeted person isn't just isolated. They're also love-bombed with values, stories, and community of the new ideology. For us, this means three things. First, at the end of every day, read your anti-vision and vision, and cast a vote. Did you move more toward your anti-vision or your vision today? Update it with anything new you did that brought you closer to either. Your anti-vision and vision aren't just documents to glance at. They are your living guides. For example, a few weeks in a row, I noticed I kept writing down skip my walk in my anti-vision notes. It made me realize how much my evenings were pulling me off track. I made it a goal to get home and immediately go out for a walk instead of some time after dinner. This one tweak made walking feel effortless again. Each time you update and adjust your anti-vision and vision, you rewrite your brain to feed the new wolf, your new identity. Second, choose 3 to 5 outside voices who you know will feed your new identity. For example, mine was my doctor, a few textbooks, and a self-improvement podcast which reminded me of the person I want to be. Be selective. Only choose those who inspire you to stay consistent and positive. Third, bring your vision into the real world by signing up for activities that are part of your vision. For example, through hiking was part of my vision, so I signed up for weekly urban walks. As I gained confidence in my stamina, I signed up for easy day hikes and kept building from there. This has the double benefit of not only stopping you from putting off living your dream life, but also creating accountability in the form of belonging to a community which makes your dream activities easier. But here's the tricky thing, doing these 4 techniques correctly. I can help you avoid all these pitfalls. My motivation challenge shortcuts you through all the trial and error to nailing your anti-vision, vision, cutting old voices, and adding new ones all on your first try. If you're interested, check out the link in the description and comments below. And if you're DIYing this, there's one more thing you need to know. How to beat the #1 barrier to weight loss, cravings. So you don't want to ignore this video where I reveal 3 game-changing tactics against cravings. It took my co-coach Lucy and I 10 years and $45,000 combined to figure all of this out. So you don't want to miss the complete step-by-step breakdown here. And always remember, you can do it.